Welcome to the 12th lecture in this lecture series introducing the subject of international investment law. In the last few lectures, we dealt with the question of who an investor is. In this lecture, we will deal with an important aspect relating to the question of who is an investor, that is, treaty shopping. For those who are yet to come across this term, treaty shopping refers to a situation where a person who is not ordinarily entitled to benefits under a treaty takes some actions so as to obtain those benefits. For example, consider a Pakistani national might be planning to invest in a power plant project in Pakistan. In order to claim protection under an investment treaty, he might register his company in the Netherlands along with another national from the Netherlands. Consequently, the company would be entitled to protection under the Netherlands-Pakistan BIT of 1988 for its investment. Ordinarily, the Pakistani national cannot claim protection in respect of a power project in the host state of Pakistan, but through treaty shopping, protection could get extended. But does international investment law prohibit treaty shopping? The answer is no. International investment law does not prohibit it. Take the case of Tokyos Tokeles versus Ukraine. Award on jurisdiction dated 29 April 2004. Here, although 99% of the capital of Tokyo's Tokeles and two-thirds of its directors were of Ukrainian origin, the ICSID tribunal held that Tokyo's Tokeles could claim benefit under the Ukraine-Lithuania BIT since the BIT provided for incorporation as the criteria for determining the nationality of the investor. Note that the situation could be different where treaty shopping is undertaken after the dispute has arisen. Banro versus Democratic Republic of Congo, award dated 1 September 2000. The question here was whether a Canadian investor who had sold its investment to its American subsidiary a few days before filing a claim before ICSID so as to attract jurisdiction could claim protection. Canada had not signed the ICSID convention. Consequently, the tribunal held that it did not have jurisdiction to take up the claim. The tribunal stated, the tribunal cannot allow the requirements of nationality imposed by the Washington Convention to be neutralized by investors who are seeking to avail themselves, depending on their own interests at a given point of time, simultaneously or successfully, of both diplomatic protection and ICSID arbitration by playing on the fact that one of the companies of the group does not have nationality of a contracting state party to the convention and can therefore benefit from diplomatic protection by its home state, while another subsidiary of the group possesses the nationality of a contracting state to the convention and therefore has standing before the ICSID tribunal. Note that the rejection by tribunals of treaty shopping after the dispute arises is based on international public policy and the abuse of process doctrine. Some investment treaties address this issue by using what is known as the denial of benefits clause. Article 9.15, sub-article 1 of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership is one of the examples. This provision states a party may deny benefits of this chapter to an investor of another party that is an enterprise of that other party and to investment of that investor if the enterprise is owned or controlled by a person of a non-party or of the denying party and has no substantial business activities in the territory of any party other than the denying party. The DOB clause was recently discussed extensively in Gran Colombia Gold Court versus Republic of Colombia, decision on the bifurcated jurisdictional issue dated 23 November 2020. The DOB clause, that is the Denial of Benefits clause in the applicable treaty, that is the Canada-Colombia Free Trade Agreement 2008, read Article 814, Denial of Benefits. A party may deny the benefits of this chapter to an investor of the other party, that is an enterprise of such party, and to investments of that investor if the investors of a non-party or of the denying party own or control the enterprise and the enterprise has no substantial business activities in the territory of the party under whose law it is constituted or organized. The tribunal noted that denial of benefits is a discretion of the host state. This is apparent from the use of the term may in the clause. Another interesting issue that was raised in the Gran Colombia case was whether the host state could invoke the DOB clause to deny benefits to investor even or after the date when the investor files the request for dispute resolution under the treaty. The tribunal held that no such temporal restriction could be read into the DOB clause in the absence of any mention thereof. The tribunal also clarified that exercise of such a power after the dispute arose is not retroactive operation, but that the investors are put to notice in advance that there is a risk that the host state might deny investment protection if the investors choose not to organize their activities in line with the standards set forth in the DOB clause. Importantly, the tribunal clarified that since the issues relating to DOB clause form a part of jurisdictional issues under the relevant arbitration rules applicable, be it ICSID or UNCITRAL or others, jurisdictional objections had to be raised at a threshold itself. Therefore, if the host state fails to invoke the DOB clause and to raise those jurisdictional objections, they would lose the right to later raise those objections. Consequently, the tribunal held that the applicable arbitration rules effectively fix the deadline for invoking the DOB clause. With this, we complete our discussion on the threshold question, who is an investor? To summarize the discussions on the questions, what is an investment and who is an investor, the following jurisdictional issues are to be satisfied in order to bring about a valid claim under the relevant treaty. 1. Ratione personae. The dispute must oppose a contracting state and a national of another contracting state must be the party. Ratione materii. The dispute must be a legal dispute arising directly out of an investment. Ratione voluntatis. That is, the contracting state and the investor must consent in writing that the dispute be settled through dispute resolution under the BIT or the ICSID arbitration. This may be in the form of an investment treaty or an investment agreement. The fourth aspect is ratione temporis. The BIT or ICSID convention must have been applicable at the relevant time. These fourfold criteria were laid down in the decision of the ICSID tribunal in Phoenix Action Limited versus Czech Republic in its award dated 15 April 2009. Now, those willing to read further may access the resources provided here. Links to some of these resources are also provided in the description for the sake of convenience. Happy reading. Bye bye and stay safe.